Welcome to Third World Gaming, the number 7 show on the top 5 list of things that dogs may want to listen to. I'm Miko, the Ironic Gamer, and with me is the gamer toad, Paolo.
I'm found on roads.
Not to be confused with Frogger, a very excellent game. Anyway, guys,
I can clone myself into multiple versions. You think you killed me? No, you didn't. You may kill my You may kill my after image organic clone thingies, but it will not harm me.
Because the future is now, and the future is the topic. The future of gaming. What am I talking about, Paolo?
A river!
What he said. AR, IR, and VR. Probably not in that order. AR meaning augmented reality, VR meaning virtual reality, and IR meaning immersive reality. I think we've seen this actually through the years. AR actually has some really dated back really far back to about the 1994.
I can expect it to have dated back that long, but how?
Well, we'll go into that one a little later.
Okay.
VR probably around the mid-90s. We saw this with the whole virtual reality consoles and things.
The whole virtual
Not
reality.
like consoles. I mean, like it was the whole machine.
The whole virtual reality concepts that was constantly popping up and making people say, "Wow, I feel like in the future. I see the cars. They're all flying now."
Yeah, except back then it was like a whole bunch of like lines and things, nothing really solid.
Yeah.
And immersive reality, which is something that's actually fairly new. Not as new as people would like to think. I mean, people think immersive reality gaming started like a few years ago, when in reality it actually started around 2002.
Yeah.
Probably a little earlier.
Yes, around that time, because I know for a fact that some friends of mine I know were talking about systems that really did sound like IR. And they were talking about these systems back in, I think it was around 2004.
Yep. Anyway, these are things that actually we're looking at as possible futures into gaming, simply because it's so different from what we're used to. I mean, we're not using standard controls. We're not using the standard inputs. And same way, the output being given towards us is very different. It's not the simple, TV screen or pure screen. For the virtual reality, we're using, essentially a headset or an eyepiece. Virtual reality being, immersive reality being something entirely different.
Basic, like to give you a little bit of the skinny on IR. Think of VR and then strap on hyper context sensitive sensors that work like pieces of cloth that are wrapped around your arms and legs. Heck, even a bodysuit made out of that cloth to make you imagine if you get shot on one part, that said cloth would start to contract in a sudden painful motion, and basically you're on a bit of some weird walkie treadmill thing. All of that combined, and if it's a shooty game, you've got like some gun peripheral thingy.
Shooty game, another way we call shooter games, apparently. And yes, essentially immersive is gaming with science. Lots of science. Fun, irresponsible science. Like sheep cloning science. Yeah.
Well, how is this as irresponsible sheep cloning?
Really, sheep? Why sheep? Pigs. Now, clone bacon, that sounds awesome. Clone sheep? Meh.
Yeah.
That's irresponsible things.
No, I wouldn't say it's irresponsible. No, I wouldn't say it's irresponsible. I'd say it's dumb, but not irresponsible. What would be irresponsible? Put clone sheep, put human brains inside them.
Yep, won't taste as good either.
Won't taste as good, and they're probably going to, and it won't taste as good either. Though probably if I work the political system pretty well, I could probably get in a whole new bunch of Republican voters.
And Republican voters, liberal voters, different kind of voters. Anyway, stepping away from politics and sheep, let's go back to the whole concept of AR, IR, and VR.
How about we start with AR, since that's the most elderly of the three.
And it starts with the letter A. And kids, remember, it starts with A, B, another letter. Anyway, augmented reality is, it's, people kind of find it hard to explain what it might be. I mean, even when I was talking to Paolo earlier about what augmented reality was, it's a little hard to really put down. But I guess the simplest way to put it is augmented reality is simply putting a layer of the digital world on the reality around you. I mean, this can be done in multiple ways. The most simple way has always been getting aspects of reality and making it a key feature in the game. I mean, the simple shooting games where you have the world around you and that becomes your backdrop. Those are sort of augmented reality games in a sense because they do interact with reality to, a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think more common augmented reality games are things that are based off your position and you actually interact with the reality around you. Like if there are key landmarks, that landmark would actually appear in your game and you'd have something to do with it.
You could manipulate it, change it up.
Manipulate, or maybe it might serve as a point of interest in your game. Similar to, let's say, I'd go to the Mactan Shrine or the Lapu-Lapu Monument. That will appear in the game and I would be able to interact with it. Being a set landmark.
Oh, okay.
I might not interact with anyone's normal house because it wouldn't be landmark enough for some developers to look into.
Yeah.
But major things, let's say, like even the mall like Ayala or SM, might be key places I might interact with.
Yeah.
Or even user-submitted content.
So basically, if you go to these places, you'll be able to see a considerable range of information pop up.
That's another way to put it. I mean, that's the most common thing with augmented reality. I think you guys might have already seen the Google Glasses and any other smart device which overlays information on reality.
Fact though, most of these devices will do so via the camera.
Yep. You will need a camera to use these things more often than not. Some games do not need the camera though.
Yeah.
That's also another thing that people misconceive about AR is a camera is always needed.
But
it is most likely needed for most things, but not all games require it.
For most of the basic for most of the basic applications, you could say a camera would be needed, but
not all of them. It's a requirement. I mean,
yeah.
As much as you'd like to think that you need a camera to interact with reality, augmented reality also uses the fact that smart devices know where they are because of global positioning.
Wait a minute. I do know. Wait a minute. That does actually remind me of something because I do know there are actually some games that will actually give you different content depending on where you are.
Yeah, those location-based gaming, which is similar to augmented reality, simply because you are using reality to change your gaming style.
I actually know for a fact that Sony is going to also be releasing a game of that kind on the Vita. It's a free-to-play game that kind of works like some weird RPG chess Pokemon kind of deal, where that basically bases its playable pieces on like different figures and beings from different mythologies, pantheons, and myths. Basically, your pieces will be determined by your location, and you could get new ones by going to a new location.
I guess that would be actually on the line with augmented reality. It's a really fine line, though, because that sounds more like an aspect to the game versus it being the main concept.
Oh, okay.
But augmented reality has its roots back in 1994, where it was actually used by the Japanese for shipping things, actually. The most common interaction you'll probably have with AR is QR devices. QR codes. I mean, those really weird, things you can scan with your phone.
Wait. That would be AR because by taking that external picture, you're able to translate that into usable data.
Yeah, that you interpret reality into something digital. So you're essentially overlaying that digital information on this reality on it.
So barcode, zap, information.
That's simply another way of looking at augmented reality. But again, it's a little more complicated than that.
Yes, because what you're describing now is pretty much the basic applications.
Mm-hmm. And now if you look at VR or virtual reality gaming, I mean, that one's pretty simple. I mean, that's simply wearing like those huge headsets, remember back in the 90s? Or in modern days, that would be the Oculus Rift. Yeah. That would be VR gaming simply because you may have this output device on your head, but your input into the game is still based on basic controllers, maybe some paraphernalias like gun things, or maybe some of it might actually have the ability that when you turn your head, you may look a certain direction, but it still requires the basic analog controls, such as a mouse, a keyboard,
basics. For gaming, that would be the basically standard standard control methods, be it a controller or mouse and keyboard, or for racing games, a racing wheel if you're into those kinds of things.
Yep, basically virtual reality just tries to throw you into the game a bit more, but you still are very aware that there is a line between the game itself and your reality. Sure, you may be hearing things specific or seeing things, but you're not truly in the game yet. Yes.
You're basically because of the fact that your control method isn't being completely governed by the system itself solely, and that the main way to control is via certain external analog means that are not exactly completely in line. For example, in a lot of virtual reality cases, you would be walking either by using the WASD keys or an analog stick, and you'd probably be doing actions with your various action buttons. As opposed to say walking by actually walking, or doing actions by doing actual actions, which then brings us to IR.
Yep, immersive reality. Now, immersive reality gaming is different from VR simply as what Paolo said, that there are a lot more paraphernalia engaged, and you are actually using your entire body in a far different way to how games are done. I mean, you don't have a controller. You don't really have a keyboard. If you want to run around, you are running around. You want to crouch, you are ducking down. If you want to use your weapon or whatever thing you may have, you'll probably have paraphernalia set simply because of that.
Yes, and if something happens to you in that reality, the system will a lot of systems will react.
Give you immediate feedback.
I remember a friend of mine describing such a system to me. My best friend of mine, I forgot if it was either Louis or Joseph. One of them. I forgot whether it's the one who stayed in Australia for a while or the one who lived in the US for a good chunk of his life. But I recall he recounted to me a system which was pretty much an IR system. It was kind of like I can't tell whether or not they were. I think they were fibbing. They were fibbing on me about this, but I don't know. It does sound kind of legit, especially if I consider the timeline. Basically, when he described the system to me, it sounded like one of those hard to find and one out of only 1,000 kinds of systems. Like, it was used for shooters, and that if a body, and basically you were wearing a suit.
Mm-hmm.
A suit. If you were shot in a certain area, the suit would contract suddenly in such a way that would be causing pain to you.
Yep. I will tell you right now, Paolo, they were not fitting. That is an actual game friendly. I've seen it, and I have actually tried using that before. You could actually use that specifically for shooting games. Some gave contractions, some gave you electric shocks, and some were limited to just being shirts. Some I've seen were full suits. Some I knew included headgear. The one I tried was just actually a shirt. It kind of worked well, but it had lots of issues. Okay. For one, if you were shot in the front, it would always kind of shock you in the same place, regardless of where the bullet in-game may have hit you.
Oh.
So, but that was really back in the early 2000s where they were still developing it further. It was a very insane concept, and yeah, it was something insane for FPS players because it started making you think twice about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a bit of immersive gaming. And another bit of popular immersive gaming is something you see a lot in arcades, which would be racing games with actual feedback, where the entire arcade box would actually either move, or you'd have feedback in the form of the steering wheel actually fighting you back when you make the wrong move.
Okay.
These are also in line with immersive gaming. Immersive gaming should not be confused with things like the Xbox Eye.
Yeah.
Like the Kinect.
The Kinect or the iToy.
Yep, those things are not immersive. I mean, if your idea of immersive as it captures your movement and tries to reflect in the game, that's not immersive. That's simply a gaming paraphernalia. That's
motion gaming. That's not immersive gaming. That is just motion gaming.
Yep, it's very different. I mean, I don't even consider it gaming. I consider it just a control for a game. I mean, Even as much as the Wii says it's no different from motion gaming, no, I'm sorry. It's basically you're given an option of using this control. You don't have to use it that way.
At the very least, at the very least, the Wii gave us something. It gave us something physical to hold on to, so that at the very least, despite the fact that we had to use our motions, you at least had a point of reference.
Essentially, it was a power glove that worked.
Yes, that's pretty much the Wii.
Yep. If you don't know what the power glove is, check it out. It is so bad. Points to whoever gets that reference.
It's so bad.
Yeah, I think you know that reference, right?
Oh yeah, it's so bad. I want to get one of them power gloves. I'll look awesome with it. And not actually use it for its intended purpose. I just want to look cool with it.
Yeah, actually, I'll give that. It actually looked cool. I kind of want one made for it looked, but it looked like a really god-awful thing to use.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, essentially, these are the possible future of gaming simply because augmented reality really became extremely popular back in 2011 because of a software called Layers, which was an independent software that allowed lots of people to make their own augmented reality softwares, which were generally not gaming related per se, but they allowed people to really enter the whole coding of it.
And then this ended up spilling over to gaming.
Oh yeah. Even though AR existed in the gaming world for quite a long while, it existed longer in the military and in shipping things and basic medicine. But for gaming, it was still kind of getting there because no one really understood how to program it. But because of Layers, it suddenly opened the floodgates and allowing people to actually easily enter the programming world of AR. Now, virtual reality gaming, honestly, it's something that's been around since the 90s. Heck, I'm pretty sure there was some concept of it back in the 80s.
Yeah.
But it's been going in and out of fashion for years.
The 80s was a concept. The 90s was the introduction of the concept, where after the introduction, it quickly fell out of favor, and now it's being reintroduced in a way that I feel could actually work this time.
It might, or it might go the way of 3D gaming right now, which is something that might just be another fad.
Well, yeah.
Go up and down.
Well, true. 3D gaming never really took off.
Lots of concept 3D gaming, same with 3D movies. It goes up, it goes down in terms of popularity. But VR gaming now might have its new life simply because of the Oculus Rift and how it's set up.
The way I see it, though, the VR gaming will command a niche.
It will.
It basically.
But it always has. But
no, as in a more sizable niche, but it's definitely. I don't know how. The way I see it, there's a problem. There's one problem I foresee with regards to its mainstream application.
Which would be what?
Price.
Well, that's really true. The biggest issue with virtual gaming. I'm not even going to talk about the Virtual Boy here too much, but it's generally expensive. Back in the 90s, they were full arcade boxes.
The way I see it,
expensive.
The way I see it, as best as possible, even with the best efforts of the guys behind Oculus Rift, the CEO did come out today after they made an announcement that the Oculus Rift dev kit would be $350. The CEO did also combine that announcement with another statement. He did mention that they were trying their best to bring down the price further, but the way I see it, even if they did manage to bring down the price, I still see it costing pretty much about the same price as a console.
Which, won't be too much of a problem for some people. But the hard part here is, with virtual reality gaming, the Virtual Boy saw this problem, which is, it's hard to make virtual reality games. And if it ends up a game being a port of different games, it may not stand on its own, simply because it'll be, hey, I can play this game except in this style. And especially the trend we talked about in the last few episodes, where lots of people don't like going that way, where they have to invest so much money into making a difficult port versus making a simple port.
Yes. And basically, a point to be made here is the fact that right now VR gaming solutions are pretty much just alternative screens, kind of like what happened. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this anime. There was this anime called Dot Hack.
Oh yeah, I know that one. Dot Hack was fun.
Yeah,
even the game was also fun.
Yes, the games were fun.
The dot hack sign or something?
there was dot hack sign, and then there was dot hack something else. Dot right now the current applications of VR gaming within the next 3 years, I could see within the near future I could see something along the lines of dot hack. But again, that would pretty much still be the equivalent of using it as an extra screen.
Yep.
Just as, you know.
In the end, virtual reality essentially really is a different output versus what immersive reality will be. It's a different output that you have a more in-the-game feel. I mean, when I saw Oculus Rift, especially with horror games, it became really interesting.
Oh,
the
yes,
same way
definitely.
I saw the concept with using games like Minecraft. It was also really amusing. But of course, it was simply an output that was different from the standard game. It gave you a more in-game feel, but did not change the game experience too drastically, which I think would make it easier to port games into. With some level of difficulty, I think, with the presentation of the screens.
Yes.
But cost-wise, it won't be so bad. But I just really do fear the whole game production for it. But that's, of course, the least of its worries when it comes to IR.
Yeah.
With immersive reality, they are amazing things. I mean, they can go actually as far as like paraphernalia.
Yeah.
I've seen racing games where you can actually just buy an entire racing setup and it'll actually move with the game. I've seen those setups, and they were either custom done and some were actually available to the market. Those are essentially in line with immersive gaming simply because you're throwing yourself more into the game. You don't really need to make game-specific things for these systems.
Okay.
However, they are ridiculously expensive.
And I don't think you're ever really going to bring them down to the cost of a console.
Oh no, the average gamer will probably never be able to afford this immersive system.
In fact, correct me if this statement is wrong, but most IR systems would actually rival or even exceed the price of top of the line gaming PCs.
Oh, far more. I mean, I've seen some immersive reality systems that would easily cost you about what, $10,000 to $15,000. They are ridiculously expensive setups.
Coming off of that super powered PC trash can of a Mac that you described to me, wow, just wow.
Yes, I am planning to get the new Apple trash can. Awesome.
So, the Apple trash can that happens to also double as a nuclear fusion reactor.
Back to the future. But yeah, those things are ridiculously expensive. The amount of investment for a gamer to get into is absurd. That's why
look, I've seen gamers complain a lot about their console costing $500.
Now throw another zero in there, you're probably not get much of a market.
No, another zero is $5,000, and there's still a considerable market for that because of the fact that a lot of high-end PC builds can reach 5. On the other hand, put not one extra zero, 2 extra zeros, and to that 500, and you're looking at something that Richie Rich would be able to buy. I do hope someone actually got that.
But yeah, when it comes to immersive gaming, it is a heavy investment. It really is. And that's the reason why that most people who've ever used immersive gaming setups has been generally the military, some medical facilities, and, well, some really, really rich gamers. Actually, even F1 uses immersive gaming technology to train their drivers.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot cheaper than, crashing an F1.
It's a lot cheaper than crashing an F1 and having to deal with the fallout of someone snapping his neck because of a really bad accident.
Yep. But that's why you haven't really seen much of it. But that's also the reason why it's actually been around for a long while. I think actually one popular video that went viral with immersive gaming of recent times, well, not too recent anymore, was which gaming show was it that they actually got, I think it was Andy McNabb, former SAS guy, actually play a game of either Call of Duty or Battlefield on an immersive system.
Wait, Call of Duty or Battlefield?
I don't know the shooter. I wasn't too familiar. I don't recall which shooter it was, but it was an insane
Was
stuff.
it a shoot? Okay, first off, was it a shooter where you could look down the sights?
Oh yeah,
That sounds recent because I know for a fact that some of the earliest games where you could look down the sights on were okay, fine. Call of Duty, you could look down the sights. You could look down the sights for a pretty long time. The time that looking down the sights got popular was about sometime after around 2008 forward.
yeah. When became more realistic, as people would say.
Which I would strongly disagree on because sure, you can look down your sights. What about the physics? What about the physics? The representation of the guns, the representation of the military. All this giant list of questions that I don't really have right now. But if I unfurled it, it would be so long. There'll be that literally if I let that thing roll and I laced it with acid, it would melt through the house and end up going the length of the house 3 times over.
That is a lot of questions. But yeah, but when that
Laced
one came
with
out there,
acid.
it was really interesting because actually it was amusing how they actually did the feedback for the person to feel the injuries. Was they actually had about, I think, 20 to 25 paintball guns set up around the area. And they used a 360 screen.
Okay.
But that was the reason why that was a ridiculously expensive set. It had a 360 screen. It had multiple paintball guns. It had the track. It had the gun. It had a lot of things going on with it. It was expensive. But it really was insane. It was a really insane concept of what gaming could be like. But to use that immersive system, you'd easily be spending over $15,000. And you'd probably need to build your own room just to house the whole system.
So not only are you going to end up paying a buttload of money, but you're also going to need a buttload of house space.
Yep. You thought the Kinect was bad? Oh no, this will eat up more space.
The Kinect needs to take up half of your living room. Oh, okay. This system, you're going to sacrifice.
You're going to need to sacrifice 2 living rooms. I only have 1. Better make another one.
Why do I suddenly get this feeling that there's a system like that actually requires the room space needed for a house?
Probably.
Oh,
But of course, there are also smaller immersive reality systems. I mean,
Yes.
I've seen some that have actually been the size of about a treadmill.
Yeah, a treadmill.
Then I've also seen some that are a little smaller by simply replicating cars that come in the racing games.
Yeah.
But the problem again with immersive reality is one, heavy investment.
Heavy investment and room, because let's face it, even if you bring it down to the size of a treadmill, well, where are you going to put it?
Yep. And the other part is also similar. It has a really bad gaming handicap. Immersive games, not all games can be immersive simply because of how you have to do things in them.
If you try to port a lot of the games you're currently playing and try to make them immersive reality, well, you're looking at probably some of the worst port jobs, and that you are probably looking at what would potentially become some of the worst port jobs in history, because that would require a lot of rewriting of code.
Not just that, you can't just rewrite code. You have to somehow make this fun for someone who's going to be exerting actual physical effort in this. Can you imagine
you're not rewriting code. You're building code from the ground up at that point.
Can you imagine playing Assassin's Creed on immersive reality?
Oh gosh. I can only imagine how painful it would be the moment you decide to do the
Leap of faith?
The leap of faith into the haystack. Oh, you think that was safe? You think you're gonna live? Sure, in reality you will live, but you are going to feel really horrible.
I think wasn't there a episode about game theory or something about would you actually survive the leap of faith?
No, I'm just trying to mess with people.
Do not jump off buildings, kids. It is very, very bad. Those haystacks will not save you. Also, where are you if you find haystacks?
Then, secondly, even for those people who make a messed up logical existential reason why they should jump off a building. No, do not jump off a building. You are not looking cool. You will not solve your problems. You're not solving anything other than how to make a human pancake.
Yep. Anyway, going back to the whole IR thing. IR gaming, though as expensive and limited as it looks, actually is also another possible future. Maybe not for the individual, but for possible arcades.
Yes.
Immersive reality arcades are an actual possibility because this would actually bring in a lot of people as compared to standard arcades.
If I am correct, I think my friend actually accessed that system via an arcade-like setup, or at least he knew a friend who could give him access to that setup. So, and actually the novelty of the setup alone could make it that, sure, you may not have the largest game library in history, but your small library of games can help you make a system where, sure, you may have expended quite a bit of money and house space to set up the system, but you're also making a bit of an income out of it because you're doling out say an example, $30 an hour to use the next generation in immersive reality games.
Not just that, I mean, the whole lack of gaming library might not affect it simply because arcades were never known for having
the widest
range of games. So they just had the games that mattered most.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even see this in internet cafes, which generally, especially here in the Philippines, where it's Dota, Counter-Strike, StarCraft, and Warcraft. Since if you have those four, you're generally fine.
Yes.
You can kind of survive with that.
And if you want to go up a tier, just be sure to add Ragnarok Online.
Oh yeah, Ragnarok Online, WoW also. I think people still play Flight, right?
Yes.
Wow, really? That's sad. Anyway, these are possible games for the future. Especially with AR being something that can be done on all smart devices, VR being pretty popular with Oculus Rift, and IR as a good possibility for future businesses. But of course, I doubt these things are all really going to pop out as major things. They all have their advantages and they all have their disadvantages.
Actually, I think about it this way. They will pop up as major things when they first come up, but down the line, they're not going to be the norm.
Mm-hmm.
It's highly unlikely that these kinds of things are going to end up becoming the norm, but these will have sizable audiences and actually, you know what? The word shouldn't be just sizable. Sizable, consistent audiences.
Oh yeah. I mean, like or not, the whole old school controller is probably here to stay.
The old school setup of a control input put in either via keys and a mouse or controller. Hooked up to a screen or a TV. That's probably going to stay for a lot of reasons. For a lot of reasons. One of which would be, well, as I mentioned, price. But another issue would just be the nature of how houses are set up.
Oh yeah. Thing is, when you're looking at it, people like to think AR gaming would be the key gaming thing, augmented reality, simply because compared to AR, IR, and VR, AR is the cheapest investment. Not because smart devices are cheap, but simply because you will most likely have a smart device regardless of not if you're going to play AR games.
Because right now it's just an ubiquitous thing to human life.
Yep. You will have a smart device. You might have an Android. You might have the iOS setup. Both can be used for the AR gaming.
You might be even one of the growing number of people with a Windows phone.
Or maybe the Google Glasses if you did actually plan to get one. Now these devices, you'll get them, you'll own them. You're not going to pay an extra set of money to start playing games. Besides me buying the software, which honestly is not the most expensive part. versus virtual reality and immersive reality, where you're making an investment to get something that's not probably going to be used for anything. I'd like to say practical or really usable in your work or anything else in your life besides the sheer fact it's entertainment. I mean, some would say immersive reality has some exercise purpose, but honestly, I can find exercise things far cheaper.
Yes.
The virtual reality, I could see how it could be used for some work, but really, you're just trying to make up an excuse for, a toy.
Yeah.
A smart device, it's primarily not a toy. It's a practical thing that we use everyday life, and if it happens to also play games, hey, great.
Yeah.
So it'd have the cheapest thing. I mean, we'll talk about this from AR, VR, and IR, the different pros and cons, just so you know. That's the biggest pro of the AR is you don't really have a real investment into it.
Because you probably already have the device.
And you're more likely, as compared to all the other two, to find lots of people who probably would play.
Actually, no. I'll rephrase that. It's not because you're most likely going to have the device. It's not most likely because you're going to have the device, but it's because you probably will be in the proximity of the device. Funnily enough, I still know for a fact that because again, the following statement I'm going to make is, pretty much true. Not everyone has a smartphone or a tablet.
Yet.
Not everyone has a smartphone or a tablet. However, these said people probably have access to friends or families' smartphones or tablets.
And those probably have no access. The whole gaming thing at this point is probably least their concerns, and they probably found a different way of having fun, which we did before we were kids.
Yes, and if you ask,
so this is a non-issue to them.
Yeah, if you ask me, if you had to ask me about smartphones, I'd be buying them for mobile web surfing and video playback more than I would be to play Flappy Bird.
Yeah, but the thing is, the fact that you have it gives you the ability to play it. I mean, which is another advantage of playing AR games or developing AR games is you are more likely to find people playing it,
or at least who could potentially
play it, versus VR and more IR unless there's an arcade. But of course, the biggest issue with augmented reality games, one is the fact that it's generally very bandwidth heavy, and even if it's not bandwidth heavy, it's still very dependent on 3G or 4G, depending where you're from, or maybe the LTE that we have here, which kind of sucks, or also your global positioning system, because it has for it to work in reality, it has some sort of basis to what's going on.
So basically, it has to be able to update its position in real time, which may require some form of internet.
Yep.
Because here's the thing: there are forms of AR that can actually run without the internet. Though the thing is, these are also the most basic applications of AR. Like, did I talk about face radars earlier?
No. He showed this thing called face radars. It's kind of amusing.
Face radars is a game where you pretty much, basically you take the picture of a person. That person's face turns into some weird enemy thing. You shoot, and then the background of the place you're in becomes the background of the game. You move the 3DS. It moves the sight and the cursor. This is
a 3DS game.
The sight and the cursor, and you shoot yellow balls at them to make them like poof away and stuff like that. That did not need internet, but that is also a very basic application.
The reason why internet's needed is then because a lot of these things work on cloud systems. Mainly because that is a lot of information you're keeping on it. Unless you're maybe region-locked games where you cannot play outside a certain area, which means that might limit the information you need.
Dagnabbit, how many people? There are people out there that still use the oldest form of DRM.
Yeah. Simply because it's a huge amount of data you might have to keep on your phone.
Oh, okay, fine. I can understand it with phone. I'm just surprised. It's just that I hear region lock and oh my gosh, it's that's probably going to be a topic for another time. That's probably going to be a topic for another time.
And another issue with augmented reality gaming is at this time there's really no real player in it yet, and no major developer. It may have been around since 1994, but real development only started in 2011. Unlike virtual reality gaming or even immersive reality, which had earlier developments for gaming.
And the way I see it, most of the applications of AR gaming tend to be to use aspects or to use AR as a means of as a feature in your game, as opposed to being the central core aspect / system.
Well, actually, there are lots of use as a core aspect, but the problem is, when I play those games, for me, it's very reminiscent of my gaming back in the 80s. And back in the early 90s, simply because it was heavy text-based that simply use your position and the possible position of things around you, be it user-generated or generated from another system. I actually have this thing called Z-Day Simulator, or Z-Day something. It's a zombie survival game. It's amusing. Essentially, it uses data gathered from Google Places to create the areas around you where you could probably scavenge for goods. Now, it gives you very basic things. It does not know exactly where you are in. I mean, I had a Punko. I'll say Punko Punko. Punko Punko is kind of like this street side stall that's set up by like these random people, and you sit on these small chairs.
Yeah, and you eat stuff on them.
It's amusing how Punko Punko actually appeared as a possible place for me to raid supplies. Now, Punko Punko is simply just chairs and a table.
Yeah.
But when I clicked it on my game, it describes it. The picture's like a full restaurant. It describes like broken glass, and it's like, no, that is not Punko Punko. But it essentially still got that these are real world locations you are interacting with. And if you want to scavenge more, you physically have to move to a different place to find more things. So that's an interesting way to use AR. But of course, that does need positioning and internet simply to get the information, because you could not really get all the data on your phone because that's heavy.
True.
Now, that's the advantage and disadvantage of it. Simply, as cheap as it is to get into, as many players as there may be, because there were a lot, especially this other game I played, which is not available anymore. It's like a wizard game, forgot what it was. It had a lot of players in it. It also used real world areas, but it just did not have enough support because, for one, it was a pretty simple
I'm starting
game.
to get an idea. Here's the thing, because when I made that comment earlier, I'm starting to get the idea that most of the big players in the games market now, when they look at AR, they look at something that could be used as a feature for their games more so than as a central concept.
Oh yeah, that's very true. Specifically because to make that a full game, you are investing a lot into developing a system. I mean, that's an entirely new area to go into.
Yes.
If you do go into it and actually make it really good, though, it has a really good chance to be really cornering the market and making your name there. And the fact that everyone will have a smart device at that point makes it easier to make more cash.
Well, if not everyone, at least a whole buttload of people.
Oh yeah. But again, I mean, that's the limit of AR, which is there's really no major developer. And as nice as the games can be, I mean, there are a couple of nice games out there. It's really not enough to really become this, game-changing game.
So basically, a paradigm-changing kind of game.
Yep. And especially at this point, people still don't understand what AR is in its full. Now, virtual reality gaming, that has a potential of actually becoming really the next new in-gaming thing, simply because it would actually have a good library of support.
Yes.
Sadly, most of it will probably be ported games versus games really meant for it. But that's not so bad.
That's not so bad, but essentially that means that going into the future, yes, VR will probably be a part of it, but it will not replace TV.
I won't. Simply because I think it would be cost-wise, because unlike the AR, you are investing into a system.
Yes.
And
most and by the sounds of it, most VR systems will likely cost the same as a console, which from the onset doesn't sound so bad, unless said systems can't run games on their own.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a difficult thing, because I don't know if the Oculus Rift can actually run things on their own, or it probably going to need a PC running with it. Because I don't think it's simply an output. I'm pretty sure it has its own.
I recall it does have it. It does have its own software, but I need to read further because I do know for a fact that people are looking at developing games for it.
Now,
As for where those games are stored, I am not sure because a lot of the VR concepts sound more like Okay, here's the way I put it. Right now, a lot of the VR concepts are interesting, but in this one aspect alone, gaming mice are way more advanced.
yeah.
No, there's this one aspect where gaming mice are way more advanced than VR, and that's the fact that a number of gaming mice have onboard memory.
Yep.
Which is the concern with a lot of these VR systems. Now, I haven't read particularly too much on the Rift, but from what I can tell, there probably is onboard memory, so it could carry certain softwares or stuff like that. But besides that, a lot of the other VR stuff I know requires you to use stuff drawn from your computer.
Yeah. So it's still going to be a fairly heavy investment, but not too bad. But as compared to your standard console, it might be a bit more, if not the same. And with virtual reality gaming, you might still have a limit on library, especially because as much fun as ports to certain consoles may be, it's still a port. It's still not its own, unique game. With PlayStation games, and PlayStation consoles, and Nintendo consoles, and even Xbox consoles can some of those that they have titles specific to their system. The VR system might not have that simply because like the AR, you have to reprogram a lot of things. And we've seen with lots of developers, they don't want to invest too much R&D into this. A simple port, it'll work. I mean, I would love to play lots of horror games, first-person horror games on the Oculus Rift.
Outlast would be amazing.
Oh, Outlast would be really interesting. I mean, heck, I'd love to play Minecraft on it, just because it would be amusing. But that's again, one of the big pros about it is it's decently affordable.
It's more accessible.
It's more familiar to the player. I mean, that's pretty important. Familiarity really kind of helps, especially if you're going to a new system. Unless it's your first system, then it doesn't bother you. But for most of us, it'll never really be our first system, except for maybe our kids or things.
Yeah.
But the biggest disadvantage is, a capped game library. The fact that it's still not going to be, the most common thing around, even as it gets cheaper. A standard console will still probably always be cheaper than it.
And there's also the current shaky proposition as to the amount of games made specifically with the thing in mind.
But at least unlike IR gaming, it is reachable by the individual.
Yes.
Which again now brings us to immersive reality gaming. Honestly, this will really be something that the individual never afford or never choose to buy simply because even if we made it as cheap as possible,
it would be impractical to set up.
Yeah, impractical because of space, impractical because of power usage. And if this thing got cheaper, you can easily assume that consoles and computers probably got equally as cheap.
Or even much cheaper.
It'll always be in the upper side of the price range. And like the CDI and the Panasonic stuff and all the other things, it'll die a natural death if it's being sold to individuals.
If the attempt would be to sell it on the mass market, it will likely die a natural death. But if it's not geared for the mass market, it will succeed.
And this brings us to the point that we brought up earlier, to arcades. Now, immersive reality arcades is a very big possibility. An expensive possibility, honestly. I mean,
but also a possibility that could end up being highly profitable, seeing as 4D movies are actually turn a good buck for theme parks.
Oh yeah, especially I'd like to think that places like maybe Korea, Japan, in the United States, or parts of Europe, this would be a really interesting atmosphere for the young gamer and even the old gamer. It's very different from the arcades where, of course, arcades are still around, we still go to them, They're still fun, but when you have a 4D experience where you're interacting at a whole different level, it becomes a more intimate gaming, I'd like to think.
More intimate, more personal, and it's the kind of gaming that really gets to your head. Especially when especially if your gaming involves combat, because then you're actually going to feel pain.
I mean, the feeling pain is not really the key point here. I think the amount of feedback will actually be interesting. I mean,
Okay, not just feel pain, but you're also going to actually feel things.
Yeah, I mean that makes a difference.
In places besides your hands.
And I think that adds the extra realism, obviously, while ensuring them safety. I mean, one thing what makes laser tag until this day pretty popular is the fact that you engage in a shooting game without really injuring yourself, other than tiring yourself out or falling over. Now, if you have immersive gaming, you kind of enter the same thing where you're entering this thing without feeling actual pain. I mean, immersive fighting games, which is a possibility, is also really interesting, where you're engaging in combat, feeling feedback, which may not actually hurt you, but you have a different level of gaming. Especially maybe if you are a martial artist, it might be an amusing game to enter. The same way that schools like Top Gun, which has already closed down, I think, they use immersive reality to give their pilots a lot more training versus possibly crashing a multi-million-dollar plane. F1 uses to train their drivers. The United States military has used this for numerous years to train their soldiers. Obviously, again, it's not an individual purchase. But for these things, which are specialty stuff, you can expect it to be done in an arcade setup. Will it be an expensive arcade? Yes, it probably will be. You're probably going to be spending a lot of money per hour, per game to use it.
The way I'm looking at it, and the way I look at it, you're probably paying the equivalent amount of. The lowest I could ever see it being is 10.
10.
And that's 10 USD, and that's that's my very generous estimate, because it's more likely that the minimum amount would hover around 20, 30.
Yeah. The reason for this is because, again, you're probably using a lot more electricity. You don't have as much space to run it. And the turnover rate and the maintenance.
Yeah. You're not exactly in for a cheap... with regards to repairs, if anything gets damaged, I don't think those repairs are going to be cheap.
They probably won't be. And they probably will be long.
Yes, they're probably going to also be long because you're looking at very specific people who could support you. Some of which are people who probably can't get to you in the same week or month.
How are these points going to immediately kill it before it starts up? No. I mean, one interesting thing about it being expensive, at least from the business point of view, is if you do make one, you will probably not have competition anytime soon.
It's highly unlikely you're going to see too much competition in this market, mostly because a number of the companies that would actually look at it, admittedly, a number of companies have looked at it, and they probably bowed out because they don't see how they could profit from it.
Or at least profit fast enough.
Yeah. Basically, they can't really justify getting into the market. But the fact stands is that you could build a market on this, and if you build a market on this, you will be in a market with little to no competition.
Because, I mean, as I mentioned, the ones who use are not individuals. There are some individuals who do own them, but it's primarily major groups like the government or education groups.
Or the small,
now these things,
or the small club of rich kids.
Yep, and these guys, when they play, they're not making money. They know they're losing money by having this, or they may be saving money in a whole different way, but they're not really profiting out of it. If our kid could profit out of this, it'd be fantastic, but it's again going for a niche market. But again, I'd like to imagine that people, if this was to open in Cebu or Manila, you would have a good influx of people. They'd probably maybe try it once and never again, but you're sure that people will try it, talk about it, and you will probably at some point get a stable market.
Because the concept is novel enough to last. It's a kind of novelty that can actually support it, that can support the concept going forward for a pretty long time.
Mm-hmm. But there's also another place though where immersive reality also becomes a bit of a problem to these another risk that people actually look into in making a business. Immersive reality puts gamers in a very unusual position. Because one key thing that makes games really interesting is generally everyone's equal.
True.
When you enter immersive reality, that's not the case.
Because then
because physical attributes weigh heavily into it.
you're now already you're already looking at physical attributes. You're looking at body mass, muscle mass, speed and actual speed and agility,
and whether or not you actually might be handicapped.
Yes.
The nice thing about like the basic games is you can be the biggest jock, but you can lose a fighting game. Same way you can be a really big nerd and lose trivia games simply because it's an equalizer. These games you're not given any major advantage but beyond what your innate skills might be with your hands and mind. But when you're looking at the games of immersive reality where your body takes heavy play into this, if you are overweight and you have problems with endurance and things, you might not last too long in the usual gaming sessions.
In this regard also, and this also can actually extend to VR. This also means that if you have certain special conditions that prevent you from doing things because you're prone to seizures via whatever means, or certain other things that can be detrimental to your health, you probably can't get into these things because, well, it could be a catalyst for something like a seizure.
Oh yeah, that's very true. I mean, not just in VR gaming, but even standard gaming. But these things could be even set off worse in these VR or IR type games.
It's more likely. I actually see it more likely to happen in these setups, and right now at least, I don't know how the people developing these systems are actually going to rectify that.
Well,
or whether they will be able to do so within the near future.
Well, that's the future has to answer that one. Right now, what we can do is we discuss the different things of AR, IR, and VR. And I mean, they have their pros, they have their cons. All of them are a very big possibility. I mean, Paolo, for you, between from AR, VR, and IR, which one do you think you see as most likely going to pop out as the future of gaming? I mean, besides the usual traditional stuff, what do you see as possibly becoming
part of a standard?
Yeah,
VR.
VR. I'm guessing. Why do you say VR?
I'm saying VR because of the fact that despite the fact that I have constantly said that right now it only serves the purpose of an alternative screen, there is a value in having. There's still a value in that, mostly because of the fact that you can see. Mostly because of the fact that. Okay, I imagine this. I'm playing, say, Team Fortress 2.
Mm-hmm.
I want to immerse myself more.
Mm-hmm.
So, despite the fact I'm still using a mouse and keyboard, I can immerse myself more in the craziness of the game by turning off the HUD.
Okay, that's very true. For me personally, from AR, IR, and VR, I actually see AR as a more likely future for gaming. Not because there's lots of people going to be working on it, but it serves the platform for AR is already set in place. Besides the smart devices, and we have the Google Glass coming out, we have the smartwatches coming out, we have lots of technology designed to use digital information, cloud information, and location-based services to the point that it is a very prime platform to build these systems on. And the fact, again, that you don't really have to invest much into it simply because you have it. I mean, that's why iOS games and Android games exploded in the market. I mean, I think there are far more Android and iOS games than there have ever been ROMs for the Super Nintendo, Sega all combined.
Yes, because they come
and
out
they've been
early.
and they've had this. And at this point, the iOS and Android didn't have didn't exist as long as these other consoles, but they've already exploded to the point that they've far more games. Because they're ripe for, well, not just ripe for pickings and things, it's easy to make them. And there's a platform already built for it that they can all
access. A lot of it has more to do with ease of development, more so than anything else.
Now, with augmented reality, yeah, it's not easy to develop, but at the same time, we have to realize that it only became really popular about what, 3 years ago.
And the thing is, there really isn't too much of a prohibitive cost getting into it.
Mm-hmm. And right now, looking at how Google Glass are coming out, all these things, which will probably be more common in the next 3 years, I can probably say in the next 3 years, developers for AR technology will probably be far more versed in it, that they can make software and gaming things for it far easier. So I see AR as a good possible future, and as a way that it could possibly make certain other systems obsolete. I mean, like the old mobile system, mobile gaming might become, I won't be say completely obsolete, but might be replaced or upgraded to using an augmented reality system that makes more use of on their things you would carry around. I mean, sure, the Nintendo 3DS still exists, the Vita still exists, but when you compare the number of those things sold versus smart devices sold, you can't say that these handheld consoles will ever outnumber the amount of smart devices ever sold.
It's not going to happen, but that it's not going to happen. It doesn't need to happen that way. It's just really a fact. That with regards to these smart devices, you're looking at something that kind of becomes either considered ubiquitous or by some people a necessity.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's what Paul and I think. What do you guys think? I mean, you can leave us a comment down below. You can give us a message any other way you want to.
We have email addresses now.
Yep.
Special email addresses at chat, like our names at channel14.com.
Yep.
Please.
So let us know what you think the future is. Is it AR? Is it IR? Is it VR? Do you think it might be something else altogether? Maybe something that we didn't talk about.
10 giant green tentacles that serve as laptops.
Somewhere in Japan that might have been made.
No. These tentacles are too large to get into places.
Somewhere in Germany, this has been made.
Okay.
Anyway, guys, leave us your comments. What do you think is the future? And be sure to check out the other shows on channel14.com, Third World Linux, Bodega Nights, and I think there are a few other podcasts now. I think there's the one with Zhao does an interview with these, is it from Sunstar or Freeman?
The Sunstar Daily Podcast.
Oh yeah, I mean, check that one out. And hey, check out the other show, check out other episodes of Third World Gaming. And I hope you enjoyed the show and have a good night. And if you got to this point, this is the off-tangent section. And wow, Paolo, we've been talking for quite a while, and it was a really interesting topic, don't you think?
Yes, it was.
And yeah, it's actually insane. Where did you find the Face Masher game? Because it's kind of a weird thing from
Face Raiders?
Face Raider game, just because it seems really different from your library of stuff.
Here's the thing. It comes with all 3DSs.
That's somehow creepy.
It comes with all of them. It was supposed to be a showcase of the 3DS's features.
I have no idea how they can showcase the features. Besides, hey, look, we have a camera.
Yeah, look, every 3DS comes with it. I think even every 2DS comes with it. Yeah, everything that runs 3DS games comes with it.
That feels somewhat really, really creepy.
What, that I could just take your picture and then just start your face into some weird little troll niblet thing that you have to shoot balls into?
No, I find it more creepy. That game exists and it's now standard to all those devices. I mean, for that game, this doesn't bother me too much, but for them to make it a standard, that feels kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what message that's made. I mean, was it usually Mario they package with this?
No, they never package Mario. They make you buy them. They make you buy Mario.
Hey, I got Mario in my N64.
Yes, but but that all works around the same way how you have consoles bundled with games. Not, this is more like when, a fresh install of Windows XP gives you the pinball game.
Yeah, pinball's awesome.
Yeah.
Mac gives you chess.
Better than what I got with Vista, I'll say.
Minesweeper?
No, I got Minesweeper. I got this thing called Purple's Place. I don't know how to describe that. That
That sounds pretty scary as well. But yeah, I mean, like, that's a kind of a weird game to have in there. I mean, actually, really wondering why it was in the library. But yeah, an instant update. My diet is almost done. I mean, I have about 1 to 2 more weeks, and I'm not so crazy.
Yay.
I'm just glad I had to actually eat a little bit of carb lately because I've been doing some physical activity. And if I don't eat carb doing those things, I end up getting really dizzy and passing out.
Oh, crap.
So it's like, hey, I get to eat carb, but at the same time, oh my gosh, I'm doing so much things today I don't want to do anymore. But hey, I'm not going crazy. At least I don't think I am. Are you real? Are you recording? I hope you are.
And I am, and me personally, I am trying my best not to overthink. I had an interesting, it was an overall good day, but it's also, I had a good day today, to be honest, but I don't want to, but it's also a day that makes me prone to the kind of overthinking that led to the same kind of crap that happened to me like, how many years ago was that? 4 years ago, or yeah. About 4 or 3 years ago. I think you might recall some of that stuff, some of that weird. So I think I knew you around that time when some of that weird stuff was happening.
I knew you since high school.
No, like that stuff happening in UNP and.
Well, I remember a lot of screaming. Then you came out. Then you came around.
Remember that. I don't know. Do you remember anything happening at that time that was like interesting, weird?
Okay, I like hang out with like the weirdest people around UAP. So yeah, I'm gonna see that every single day.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? All I'm gonna say is that I had a number of things happen to me during.
Is this when you're like screaming like crazy in the cast garden?
Screaming like was this screaming like crazy in a way that I was trying to act a role, or was it screaming like crazy because it sounds more like I was driven mad or I was really angry?
The driven man is really angry.
That one.
Ah, okay, I remember that one. Yeah. Crazy times.
Yeah. This is why I'm constantly saying that, despite the fact that I had a good day today. It's also the same kind of good day that also makes me realize that if I overthink it, I might go mad.
Right now, my overthinking is, can I eat this food? I want to put it in my mouth. No, I cannot.
I feel sorry for you, man, because my thing will probably subside by tomorrow.
Mine will subside next week. I hope.
The longest week in human history.
Oh gosh, and I mean it doesn't help that also that I'm kind of like going out of town for a week, but I guess it's kind of okay because the place I'm going to is generally vegetarian, so yeah. I know I'll get to stay within my diet, but at the same time, I really don't like this diet at all. But hey, it works really great. So far I've lost 10 pounds of fat.
I'll keep that.
So no, it's great, but at the same time, you lose 10 pounds of fat, but you slightly go crazy every single week, and you start to get worse and worse, and you feel like that you should somehow chew on bread and.
So I wonder how this would affect a person who pretty much leans that way already.
Well, based on my doctor, what I'm going through is very similar to how it is a person kicking out, trying to get off a crack habit or something.
So in short, if I took the diet, I'd start imagining bicycles made out of meat.
Yep. And we'd probably have to strap you down in the bed.
Yeah.
Crazy, there are times I feel like I have to be strapped down in bed because you really just get these weird shakes and phrases because of it.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like what would happen if bicycles made out of meat, and I imagine myself holding a buzzsaw axe and a hammer.
Borderlands reference. Meat bicycle. But yeah, it's so far been an interesting day, been interesting recent times. Waiting for some new movies. I'm waiting actually for the next Samurai X movie.
Oh, okay.
Is it coming out soon? Because I keep seeing like in my Facebook and things like getting filled up that Samurai X this, Samurai X that.
I've been following it on J Fusion. It should probably come out within a good month or so. Within a good month or so.
Oh yeah, it works. I'm actually tempted to buy the sword from the movie. There's someone who does. There's a sword that actually does like replicas of it. full tang, sharpened or non-sharpened. Guys wanted this for collection.
Okay. Will you actually do a test on how you can use it, on how it's used?
If I get maybe the higher steel, probably, but I think they only make it in 1050 and 1060, which is not really meant for heavy cutting.
Okay.
But at the same time, I really have no use for a reversed edge storage.
Okay.
It's kind of like a gigantic carry bit, which is really hard to use.
Right, because you then have to turn it. You'd have to turn the sword around on the part that technically shouldn't be used for cutting.
Yep.
That would feel like using a short tail. That would feel like using a short tail that wasn't, built that way.
Yep. Well, but so far I think there's actually a lot of easy moves. Oh, something I am hoping to catch later today. Death Battle. Tails versus Luigi.
Wait, it's out today?
That's supposed to be out the 21st, so I think it's actually...
Oh, right, it's the end of the month. No wonder.
I'm kind of looking forward to that one. I am I'm putting all my money on Tails.
I'm tempted to put my money on Tails, but the only thing that makes me think that Luigi has a chance is the fact that Luigi has starred in more games where it's just him.
True, but what I'm giving Tails is...
He's got more things going for him.
How is that? He's a thinker.
Tails is a thinker. Tails is a mechanic. Tails is a tinkerer. And here's something, and I feel they're going to play off of this. Tails has access to super forms.
That one, I don't know if they'll access just because it's... his super form only came out when the Hyper Emeralds came out. For me, what would be interesting to play with is the fact that he can keep up with Sonic.
He can?
He can actually keep up with Sonic.
Yes, he can keep up with Sonic.
I mean, Shadow only can keep up because of his rocket shoes.
Yes, he has rocket shoes. But with the regards to Tails, I don't know, there's enough precedent in the comics there's enough precedent by using game content and the comics content to actually justify the usage of the super forms.
Plus, I mean, if you use the game content, remember, Tails never dies. Player 2 never dies. He will keep coming back over and over. And if we base it off that, remember, Luigi dies.
Yes, Tails, he'll keep coming back until he gets you. And then